welcome to episode 48 of It's Never Sunny in Seattle, a Seattle Mariners podcast. I'm Evan James, joined today by Michael Ahedo and Andres Jorstad. The Mariners have won the last two games, and I guess after seeming darkest before the dawn, we're all feeling a little bit better after these couple of days. Seeing Kyle Lewis come back, seeing Julio hit a couple dingers, feeling pretty good. And we're at about the quarter to third way through the season mark at this point, and taking a little stock of the team and where they're at right now. So I'm going to kick it over to Durs first. Durs, we're deep enough where it's not early anymore, but not late yet. How are you feeling about the state of the team after their couple wins this week?
I gotta say, those two Kyle Lewis homers were like a straight shot of Xanax. Just like to the whole fan base. And I think I've said that about other moments this season for the Mariners. But that was such a needed I don't know, wave of calm, just seeing Lewis punish two high fastballs. What did they both? They both went over 420 feet, I think.
It was smacked. It was It made it to one of the upper decks.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then also Trammell too, who's he's like the only player I did a 40 and 40 about this year for Lookout Landing. I'm a big TT guy. I think that like seeing him and Kalu come through is huge, and Julio just like can't be stopped. Ty France can't be stopped. Flexen somehow shutting down the Astros. That is a total steal of a win, having Flexen defeating Verlander. So I'm feeling a lot better, honestly. I still don't know if I'm like ready to put hope back into this squad, but I'm definitely not as like down in the dumps as I was. And I will say, I think that we were saying for a long time, it will get better than where it is right now. When they were, 18 and 27, we were saying, it's not always going to feel this shitty to watch this team. And there are going to be times when they play well and turn it around, but you don't really think what that's going to feel like. You just think what it feels like in that moment. So I would definitely say, I was gonna say it definitely feels better now, but yeah, I'm not sure how ready I am to buy back in totally yet.
It's funny how we just played the A's and they kind of smacked us up, and now we're just absolutely shitting on the Astros. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I wonder what happened. It might have just been the off day. Like maybe they just needed the reset. I don't know.
I haven't watched either game, but I was kind of looking over, the numbers and just like the game day on Savant. I don't know what was up with Verlander. Like, I honestly am like, was he like? I hate when people kind of suggest that a player's tipping, but I was like, his fastball is not good, and he was, he wasn't like down velo or anything. So it's kind of strange, but they really lit him up, and like they hit 3-4 home runs off of him.
4.
I mean, he only had, that's wild. I mean, he has a somewhat home run prone pitcher, but he only created 12 swings and misses. Like, that's Matt Festa did 6 and do 6. So I don't know, kind of wild.
Obviously we don't know what the status of the third game of the series is yet, because we are potting here on Sunday morning, so it's possible that they either continued or they lost. But either way, I think we now see what a successful Mariners team can look like, and this is the kind of thing that, like, I know that Evan is a big 710 listener, so I'm sure he was listening for the segment when Jeff Passan came on to talk about the state of the franchise, but he was basically saying, I still believe that this team can be good. They have all the pieces there. They should be good this year. I wouldn't worry about the team being good, but the worry, I think, is more like, can they make up the ground? And they can. They can still make it up. They could totally make it up. They could have they could win 20 games in June and all of a sudden they're back into things, but that's a lot to ask for. And at this point, they need a run to get back. They're like a run away from being a runaway, right? So they need a run, and then they need another run, which sucks. But you can get 2 runs. You can have 2 runs in you during a season. The question is just, are they going to have another really bad skid at any point? Because right now they really can't afford it. Basically, all the margin of error is gone.
Typical Mariners. Like, every time we're in the playoff hunt, it's like, yeah, but they can't fuck up, and they always do. So yeah.
Mikey, I wanted to ask you this. I think that the offense has been obviously the bright spot so far this season. People were noting yesterday we have a higher WRC plus than Houston does, which is borderline miraculous in my opinion. But the team's hitting does seem like it's coming around a little bit. The addition of Kyle Lewis helps quite a bit. The addition of Taylor Trammell over Steven Souza helps quite a bit, even if it's, more in terms of just our enjoyment of the game and watchability as opposed to like a major statistical difference. But for me, the question is about the pitching. And in terms of this team kind of making a turn and like Durr said, winning 20 games in a month, I think that's going to come down to whether or not the bullpen and, the rotation can hold some of the leads they might get over the next month or two. You've written 2 articles recently, one about Robbie Ray, obviously, who you've talked a lot about this year, and Gilbert, who has been probably the Mariners' biggest star outside of maybe Julio, who we will definitely get to. But tell us a little bit about what you wrote, because I think it's interesting. In Gilbert's case in particular, I was actually reading your article paraphrased on USS Mariner last night. By the way, Mikey is having a moment kind of in the baseball sphere where he's getting like quoted and paraphrased and like just a lot of attention on some of these articles. And I'm seeing it pop up in all these other places, and it's very surreal. So I think that's extremely cool. But tell us about Gilbert and about Ray and kind of the similarity and how maybe in Gilbert's case in particular, how he's being more effective with the changeup and some of the modifications he's made to it this year to make it more effective.
Yeah. So, coming into the year, I talked about, all the changes that Gilbert was making and how he really overhauled all of his secondary. So he's actually, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he's throwing a little bit harder. But he also reshaped the slider into more of, what people call like a slider cutter hybrid, like a slutter. And throwing the changeup firmer, throwing the curveball firmer. The idea is, to have more consistent shape and to get things in the zone more, which has been kind of hard because he didn't have feel for all of his pitches. And, coming, in the first, I don't know how many starts, but handful of starts, he was mixing in more pitches, but it wasn't like what I was really hoping for coming into the season. And there was a game, his most recent game, before last night, where I was really, really, I don't remember if I watched in person, or not in person, but like if I watched the game or if I was just looking on Savant, but I was really, really struck by his pitch plot and his pitch mix. And he just he didn't have the best game. It was against, I think, the Red Sox. He didn't have the best game, but he really pounded the zone with his fastball, got his slider in and around the zone, pretty much exclusively. And he landed his changeup and curveball in the zone enough to where I found it, pretty compelling. I hadn't really ever seen a pitch plot like that from him before, at least that I remembered. And so, I kind of looked into it, and it really, I'm trying to just like scan my my article, but like it really was unprecedented for him to not only throw that few fastballs, but also throw that much of his secondary pitches. So it was the second time in his career that he threw more breaking pitches than fastballs. And he just had like a really legitimate pitch mix, which is what we were always sold. It was always said like, he's got a really amazing curveball. He's also got a good enough slider, and his changeup flashes plus. And it's just all of these things that people say about starters that often don't, turn out to be true. His curveball, it turned out, wasn't nearly firm enough. Like, it's a get me over pitch. And he also couldn't command it at all. And his changeup, he just couldn't it was sick last year, but he couldn't throw it enough. So I am really, really encouraged by what I've seen. So that game, I was really excited because he only threw 45% fastballs. Last night, he threw 46. And he threw, by like percentage wise, he threw the changeup and curveball even more. So I think the more that he throws his secondaries, the more that his fastball plays up. And just the better he's going to be. Like the thing is, his fastball is really good by Stuff Plus. It hasn't created that many swings and misses and called strikes as you would think based on his pitch characteristics. I think once he's got either a full repertoire or a plus pitch, which I don't necessarily think the slider is yet, that fastball is going to be really sick. He did have one curveball that he for a strikeout that looked really good. It's like 83. So yeah, I'm really excited about Logan Gilbert.
This is just striking me now. Do you think Logan Gilbert's going to be on the All-Star team this year?
Good question. Ooh.
I mean,
he could definitely be the Mariners rep. I could see that.
Well, you think they're only going to have one?
Maybe him and Julio.
Shit, they could have a couple.
Yeah, it could be Gilbert. You could have Seawald.
Ty France, JP.
Yeah.
Any
of those guys.
Our representative last year was basically that, like a representative, like didn't necessarily deserve it. And he's not even on the team because he wasn't good. So that's exciting. In terms of pitchers, he's definitely the most deserving, and he's got the sexy, ERA right now. So I think he can make a couple different arguments. I think France will be. I think he might have a difficult time because of the position that he plays.
Well, if he continues to lead Major League Baseball in hits, it's going to be kind of hard to keep him off.
Correct. I saw that in the I forgot his last name, Alex. The Mariners. One of their Alex Mayer. In his past 162 games, so past season worth of games, he has 200 hits. And he leads MLB in that span. That's like Ichiro stuff. Maybe not Ichiro stuff, but it's almost Ichiro stuff.
every time I pull up France's Fangraphs page, I'm stunned by how low his strikeout rate is. I just always forget. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't strike out.
He's just a really good hitter.
Yeah.
His approach, he gets hit by pitches, which is a way to get on base. He takes decent number of walks. He doesn't strike out, and he has a fundamentally sound approach in terms of hitting to all fields and has some decent power. Like, he's kind of the archetype for what being good at hitting is supposed to be in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like, I think the tough thing with understanding and evaluating hitters is some guys have ability that just doesn't translate to the major leagues. And I think the only question with France was, can he be as good as he was in the minors and the majors? So far, so good, right? No complaints, no notes.
Yeah. And so, when I wrote that 538 piece and I shouted out Gilbert and we were into April, on the podcast, Evan was kind of lauding the article, and I was hesitant to indulge in it because some of the peripherals weren't as good, in some ways, his year looks similar to last year. It might just be, a little bit of luck, in terms of ex-WOBA, which isn't the best stat, but it is, pretty descriptive. He's actually had a worse year than last year, but I'm very encouraged by what he's been doing lately. And so I am a little more all right with, saying yeah, I was right.
You're what at this point? You're 1 for 3 on that article because Gray and Keller haven't been great yet.
I think that's HIPAA.
Solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone who works for an agency, and we were talking about how Keller might just need to throw a sinker. And Gray just needs to not throw his fastball so much. His breakers are so good. They're like literally two of the best breakers by CSW and MLB.
He had that really good outing before. Well, he got smacked by the Dodgers last time,
Yeah.
but before that, he had a pretty good outing where he used mostly breaking balls, I thought.
Yeah, and
This is not a Nationals podcast, but still.
Yeah, well,
it's interesting.
It makes me mad. So yeah.
Well, we talked about Gilbert. Mikey, tell us a little bit about your Robbie Ray article, because we've been following him. Really, he's probably been the main character of this podcast over the course of the season has been Robbie Ray, and kind of are digging into him and sussing out what's going on. Give us the update.
Is he a left-handed Dinelson Lamet?
In terms of, actually, it was funny. I queried, a in my lead, I kind of talked about how he is a true three true outcomes pitcher, where since his first full season in 2015, so since the beginning of the Statcast era, he leads all starting pitchers, at least in the sample that I have, in plate appearances that end in a strikeout, walk, or home run, so FIP. If you lower the sample a little bit, I'm trying to remember the other pitcher, but Dinelson Lamet is one of the pitchers that is one of the others. So yes, in some ways, the thing about Dinelson Lamet is he throws a shit ton of sliders. That's kind of what I wrote about Robbie Ray is, man, it's sad. I wrote the day of the signing. I was pretty impressed with myself. I wrote like a mechanical breakdown of what he did really to break out. And, it was like we've talked about before, it was kind of adding that little twist that Felix had, where he's kind of, kicking, like backwards towards second base, like aligning his hips and his torso more. I should say more so his torso with second base, and then delivering to the plate. And I think it creates a lot of more kinetic energy, and he was just more efficient towards the plate. That created an uptick in velo, where he got towards 95, and he was sitting 95. Towards the end of the year, he was sitting like 94. Probably should have been, kind of a warning sign for us. But, he's down almost 2 ticks in terms of average velocity from this year and the past year. If that's the case, you've got to make some sort of adjustment. His fastball's still plus, but you can't just throw a fastball. And so, again, there was a start that Ray had, I think, on the 10th that I was pretty struck by. I was just really interested that he was throwing more sliders than fastballs, pretty exclusively fastball slider. It's really weird because I talk all the time. I was talking about on a podcast a couple weeks ago about, again, DMing one of my pals who works for an agency, and he had met with a player who was kind of, Ray Ian in terms of he had a really good fastball. His fastball declined, and now it's just getting beat up. And so what we were talking about was he should throw more get me over curveballs. He should throw more elevated cutters. He should mix in all of his pitches just to get guys off his fastball. And for Ray, he's not doing that. And I think he's probably right to not do that, because his changeup's not very good, and his curveball really gets lit up, even though he steals a lot of strikes for it or with it. When guys do make contact, they light it up. And so I think he's probably right to really lean into this pitch mix. I kind of think, even though by like stuff plus his fastball is his best pitch, I kind of think he should be a slider first pitcher. I wonder what Lamet's pitch mix looks like. I feel like he might be. I would just have to look. But there are precedents for being able, to be a slider majority pitcher. Like he could definitely throw, like 40%, which he does. Yeah, like Lamet throws like 59% sliders. That's this year, but the past couple years, 53. So I think that Ray can be, I don't know, something like a 50 to 55% slider guy. Fastball's pretty much the rest, with maybe a changeup or especially a curveball sprinkled in here and there. But it's, to kind of wrap it up, because monologue. But this is the first time that Ray has broken the 50% threshold with his slider, and he's done that in 2 of his previous 4 starts, and both have been career highs. So yeah, 2 of the very few times that his slider usage has exceeded that of his fastball. And I think he knows. They struck it from the article, but I pretty much said I think the Mariners are kind of behind this. They said it was unsubstantiated because like it hasn't been said, but
Yeah, but like, did you see Kyle Bodie, the founder of Driveline, his tweet last week where he said that the Mariners are the only team in baseball that has thrown more sliders this year than fastballs?
And minors, right?
I thought it was in the majors. Is it the minors?
I think it's the minor leagues, but still that shows
Okay.
developmentally, kind of where they're at, and it makes sense. And so, yeah, I guess the last part that I'll say about it is, it like in general, you should look at things as granularly as possible if the sample size, necessitates it. It matters that he is throwing, this many sliders, but it also matters what counts is he throwing a slider, what counts is he not throwing his fastball. He's throwing a few more first pitch sliders, and he's throwing a few more sliders and 3-ball counts, which means, he's not giving in, and he's got, he has good feel, or at least he has confidence in it. But he's also using it the majority of the time in 2-strike counts. So he's going for the kill. And if I remember correctly, it is a better CSW pitch than his fastball. And so, in some ways he's really predictable because he's a 2-pitch pitcher, but in some ways he's also changing it up and becoming harder to pick up. So I am worried because this is the first year of a 5-year contract, but I am excited that he's at least getting kind of creative and making it work. And so we'll see what it looks like, but I think he can make this work.
So, Mikey, if you were to reorganize the pitching staff in order, let's say it's like a playoff series, you need to order them, how would you do it right now?
Like, I guess it's like gun to my head,
Sure.
I mean, because it's like we don't know. Yeah, what?
Yeah, so it's just like kind of like right now, like where would you be?
I think you probably go Ray because of experience and because he has looked better lately. I will say, and I wish I would have touched on this in the article. I think he's given up in the past 4 games, maybe 5 home runs. That's not great. And a fair amount of them have been on sliders. So it's like that might still be a significant issue. And that was an issue last year still. I think I would go Ray, Gilbert, Flex, and
you want to do it.
Kirby.
You want to say Kirby.
Marco, yeah, Kirby.
Marco, I think 5.
He's just not.
He's very boring.
He's so. It's fine to be boring. I fucking liked watching Mike Leake pitch. It's not fine to be boring and not good, which I kind of think he's not anymore.
Which is funny because Marco did not like watching Mike Leake pitch
Yeah.
or do anything.
Um. Yeah. I honestly think next year I would like to see them replace. I think you gave me a little pushback in the Slack or in the Discord, but I would not mind seeing them move on from Flexen and Marco.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
I think this was in the Discord. I think we were talking about this.
Yeah, I'm not in the Slack anymore. I'm no longer at Look at Landing, folks.
I feel like with Marco and Flexen, like those are, and this comes back to like the original argument that you and I would get into, like back when I was at Pitcherless still, which is that like boring guys are still valuable. I know you feel the same way, but I guess to me it's like I think you don't know how much Tyler Anderson means until he's gone, and you're throwing Justice Sheffield or you're throwing a bullpen game, right? So that's kind of how I feel about Marco and Flexen. Like, unless you like trade for Frankie Montas or you go out and get you Luis Castillo, and that's your replacement for Flexen or Marco, I think you're going to find that you quite miss those guys. And like, if they go out, what's that?
I mean, they are just combined for a negative 0.4 WAR right now. They both have like a really significant home run problem. I don't know. I mean, if you add their K per nines, it's like 11.
I wonder if next year they are replaced by either, an outside the organization edition or like a Levi Stout, Bryce Miller kind of guy.
Oh God, I love Bryce Miller. I think he's probably a little far away.
Yeah, he's like 23, 24.
Stout, I don't know if he's a starter. He'll get a look,
Stout's
but
24.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to have a 13% K percentage and be a good starting pitcher. That's Marco. I'll give him 14. So
it's so weird how valuable he was at the beginning of his Mariners career. He put like 3 4-win seasons together. Like,
yeah, like 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
Doing the same thing he's doing now.
There's probably a way to make it work for both of them. I was actually just looking. I kind of think that Flexen should throw a lot more changeups.
Isn't he like mostly fastball?
Yeah, and his fastball's not that good.
No, it sucks.
So, yeah. So I think that's kind of a way for him. Marco, I think, should stop throwing his shitty ass cutter. It's really bad. So.
The interesting thing about Marco is I was listening to Jerry talk about him on 710 this week, and his actual results in terms of him keeping the team in games, as it were, kind of like, the anecdotal stuff, has been okay. Like, the team has not been rocked or shell shocked when he's pitched. He consistently gives up runs of some kind, but he's going 5-6 innings and not getting washed. So I think what we're seeing with Marco and with Flexen is a disparity between their real world and like value to the team and the innings they pitch being more substantial in real life than it is in kind of like a fantasy or a fan graphs type setting. And there is value to those guys. Like you said, they are, like below replacement value combined, but essentially Chris Flexen is he's 0.1. So he's basically right at replacement level, and Marco has been worse. So I think that they've both not been great, but it is a different discussion. And they're really here to soak innings, right? Like if we get, I don't even know, like 350 innings combined from those two guys, that's a win because we don't have anyone behind them who we feel comfortable taking those innings. And we talked about this. For the record, the Mariners admitted they needed another pitcher in the offseason. It was one of the things Jerry was trying to get really all the way up through spring training. And we have it on the notes here that, really we've all said this now. one of the things the Mariners are going to have to do is they're going to have to go get another starter, probably from outside of the organization this offseason. I think that's staring at this today. That seems like a really glaring thing.
This offseason or this summer?
That's an interesting question. Hey, we're at this juncture, so like I think the question is, who would you go get? Because we're gonna have some idea of who's selling and who it might be. So, is there anyone in particular?
We know the A's are selling. Montas has got to be on the table, but
True.
whatever the Mariners were offering, what's that?
ALS tax.
Yeah, and whatever the Mariners were offering in spring training was obviously not enough because we know they were talking to the A's. But man, if the Marlins start selling, that's gonna be so big.
Just gonna keep saying names.
Well, Malley is pitching really badly too, so we may get a discount on that.
Hey, shut up. I don't know. Jordan Lyles,
Mitch Keller.
Shut up.
Who are we trading? Are we trading? That's the thing, is this is going to be a Noelvi trade, right? Like realistically, they're not going to want anybody else. It's going to be Noelvi and maybe like a Stout or a Brash or somebody on top of that.
Should we get to Dae's question?
Yeah, can I say something first?
Yes.
I just want to say, like, I need to express how badly Marco's cutter sucks. Okay, are y'all ready to hear like what its CS? So he's thrown 130. Do you want to hear what its CSW is this year?
So wait, what percentage of his repertoire does it make up?
Please hold.
I just need to know how
18 and a half. I don't know why I said it like that. 18.5.
Fairly significant. How bad is it?
10.9 is such fucking horseshit. That's not a usable pitch.
So he's only getting called strikes and or whiffs on that pitch 10% of the time.
Yes, which is very, very, very... Okay, in fairness, it has like a 26% foul ball percentage. That still adds up to be like a 35% strike rate. That's so fucking bad. If you doubled that, that would be like a good fastball. Like a really good fastball. Like, that's so very bad. And I need him to stop throwing it.
Well, cutters used to be the thing, right? Well, first it was sinkers. Sinkers were super in like 2013, 2014. Then a few years later it was cutters, right? Everyone was wanting to throw a cutter, and now it's sliders.
Yeah, I mean, who was I just talking to about this? A lot of guys fuck up their fastballs by introducing cutters.
Who the fuck Justin Dunn problem? No, he had two breaking balls that were like very similar.
Yeah, they looked like boobs if you looked at them on Baseball Savant. I don't like. I mean, Chris Paddock did it, and Walker Buehler. It happened to. Like, who's I talking to? I don't know. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But it's a thing, and I don't know. I mean, Marco just shouldn't throw his fucking his stupid cutter. Like, I honestly think he could be pretty decent again if he just didn't.
You got to imagine the Mariners are smart enough to know that, though.
I think he's kind of hard-headed. You know?
Bulldog mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
I can't wait till he gives up 6 runs today.
He's so annoying. Like, he's so emo for how not great he is, you know? I don't know. It's fine.
I feel like I like Marco. Like, I think as a person, he's a good dude. He's a humble person. He's a good human being. He's just always been kind of a weird personality fit as a Mariner.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. And it comes back to like the whole boring thing and some kind of the discord he's had with fans where he's like, the fans don't like me in Seattle. It's like, well, like, dude, you're a tier 4 star. What do you want?
Dude? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know what he wants.
We should get today's question though. Sorry.
We should.
I derailed us.
Durs, break us into what you think about this, because I honestly don't. My opinion is
Yep.
that we're probably not trading Suarez and Winker, but I think it is interesting.
Yeah, so I want to Dae posted in the Discord channel, which by the way, if you're listening now, you should join because we are we're getting pretty talkative on game days, so it's good to react with everybody in live time. And you can ask us questions like literally in the moment if you want, which is really cool. But Dae posted earlier this week in the mailbag questions channel, said it's Memorial Day weekend. Is it still too early to press the big red button and blow it up? Is it time to trade our big salary win now vets? And then he pointed out Suarez specifically. Now, this was before the 2 wins, which I think may have calmed people down a bit, like I said before. But I will say, I don't think Suarez is the contract that you're like. Let's say the Mariners aren't winning this year. I don't think Suarez is the contract that you give up because he's going to be around for a little bit. I think his contract's like 2 or 3 more years. So he's going to be part of the 2023 team. And he's been pretty good. I mean, he's got like a 120 WRC plus. He goes on these runs where he's hitting, like 3 home runs in a week, which is really cool. And he's not owed that much money. In fact, this is in the notes I see, he basically is a Kyle Seager replacement. Like in so many ways, he is value-wise Kyle Seager. So it's pretty cool because I was always concerned about, we're gonna really miss Seager when we don't have a good third baseman, and Suarez is kind of like just been the set it and forget it third baseman guy. In terms of trading vets, I certainly think it's on the table, like Mikey said, like a Flex and Marco type of guy. I don't think they're going to blow it up. Certainly not going to blow it up at this point. Not with like all the hype they put into this offseason and the fact this is just the beginning of things. They're not going to blow it up after 2 rough months. What they might do is they might deal the guys who are going to be expiring their contracts at the end of the year anyway. So Haniger, Frazier, they might give up a Flexen or a Marco if they can get some decent value for them. I totally see that happening. I don't think they're going to blow it up, though.
I don't even think it makes sense. I mean,
No.
Suarez makes 11 mil this year, next year, 2024, and then an option. I don't know what's red mean. An option for 15 mil. That's so affordable. I don't even think money really, unless you have a player who's like under team control for a while. I hate that verbiage. It's just the verbiage that Spotrac uses. I don't even know why you would. Like the bat thinks that Suarez is a 2.7 WAR player ROS. That is nearly a 4 WAR player. And so I think he's been a Seager replacement, but he's been a better hitter and probably equal-ish defensively. Because Seager's really he was an average hitter, and he would have been dog shit this year with this ball.
Yeah.
I think the timeline is lines up pretty decently for Noelvi Marte. So I think that, I mean, optically, I don't think it looks great, and I think they really like him in the clubhouse too. So I don't think you trade Suarez. Winker is arbitration eligible next year, and I mean, he just hasn't hit. So it's like, what are you going to get for a DH?
Right. It's also like his best games of the season are likely ahead of him. I think he's been fucked over by the ball too, but I think he's adjusting well. He's starting to adjust well, I should say. Where like maybe he is a 15 homer guy, but he'll still be like a 115, 120 WRC plus hitter.
And look, like Julio is starting to turn it around. Once if and when Winker starts hitting and you get Kyle Lewis back and then Haniger comes back, things are just gonna start going well. You're gonna get Swanee back. He's already throwing. Ken Giles is hopefully. I think he just started. I think he might be. He's going on a rehab.
He was activated for a rehab assignment. Yeah, he pitched yesterday.
So he's close.
Wow. The Bad X is a big old fan of Winker for the rest of the season. 140 WRC plus.
Oh wow, that's actually insane. And the bat is, it's I think probably the best in season because it's really sensitive. I've talked about this before. It's really sensitive to the StatCast batted ball stuff, and it's interesting because Winker, his number, like I'll pull it up right now. I think he hasn't really started hitting the ball all that hard. Like he's been better, I think, lately, but on the year, like his batted ball numbers are worse than they've been in a while, which I think Blowers was talking about kind of an adjustment that he's making. I think it's with his hand place. I think usually he's pretty like relaxed with his hands down, kind of like the Segura thing where they're like really low. But he's kind of raised them up. He's got it like, locked and loaded. But yeah, his X-Wob is actually trending down. But I'm sure he's hitting the ball harder. Nope, also not true. Just making things up. I think he'll be all right though. He's literally been Mike Trout against righties. So
who are players that you like if the Mariners were not doing well? Who are players that you would trade?
on the team.
The problem with that question is that it depends on the return we're being offered to a very large degree.
Yes.
And when it comes to guys like Winker and guys like Suarez, I don't think the return is interesting, even if I believe there'd be a taker. I believe if you went on the market and you're like, okay, the Mariners want to trade Suarez. He's been valuable. He's been a 4-win player. He's roughly paid what he's worth. I think there's a taker for a lot of these players. I don't think we're getting anything back. Like, how interested would we be in getting a Shed Long caliber player back? Like, not very.
Dear God.
But I think that you could get a borderline top 100 prospect for a healthy Haniger.
Oh man,
I think it's gonna be bad. I don't know. Seager's gone, so I guess he can't lead a revolt. But
is Mitch going to be back in time to play where he could even? I mean, I realize they could trade him on the IL, but like, is he going to play at all before that?
I think his projection time is like right before the All-Star break, right?
So like a month.
If it goes well, this is the question with him.
Yeah.
So it was 10 to 12 weeks from April 29th. So it's already been 4 weeks. Yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not back.
Like, but to answer your question, I mean, maybe Haniger, maybe Lewis, maybe Adam Frazier, but like,
how dare? Sorry.
I mean, yeah, this is last year on his contract. Honestly, I think that they should just re-sign him. I think that they should extend him. He's a good player to have. But otherwise, I just think it's relievers. I think it's like Munoz. I think you could probably get a lot for. It's interesting. Like he throws really fucking hard. His fastball's not that great. Its shape is just, well, I don't know. I actually should pull up his stuff plus, but his slider's his best pitch by far. So I don't know, something like that. Festa.
Is it a hot take that now that I've thought about it, I actually think Steckenrider is the most likely Mariner to be traded? Straight up.
I don't. Kind of like there's no value in him right now. He stinks.
That's exactly why I think he's most likely to be traded. He's like the Rafael Montero. Somebody will take a flyer. Some competitive team will take a flyer on him being like the 8th guy in the bullpen.
Yeah, and what we got for Rafael Montero was Joe Smith.
Bring back Joe Smith.
I lied. Munoz, yeah. Because as I was saying that, I was like, actually, he has a flat, vertical approach angle, and he gets plus run on his fastball. I think he just can't command it. And a slider he can. So I think really what he needs to do, he's throwing 64% sliders. I think he needs to throw more and really just use the 4-seamer to get guys off his slider. So kind of interesting. Sorry, yeah, I just had to add that. But yeah.
I think the verdict is that the Mariners definitely make a trade or two at the deadline. I think it's probably smaller pieces moving around the board than we would all like. Suarez and Winker are both kind of big chips. I just don't think that the fit is there. The fit isn't there, especially if you want something really good back. If the Mariners are interested in like kicking the can down the road and trading Winker and Suarez for guys who are like not A-list prospects but could fill in theoretically in the interim, they could, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen.
What they ought to do is kind of soft buy, you know, just
I was gonna say,
buy.
should they act like buyers even if they're not?
I just think that regardless, like Dipoto always talks about, you know, kind of buying, like even if you're selling, you're kind of buying and selling. Like the Toro move, that was a sell, but it set them up, you know, to have Toro that like last year and this year. Toro hasn't been necessarily good, but I think those are the kind of deals that you want to make. Hopefully, someone a little surer than Toro, and the Mariners, you know, ostensibly really like him. But I think it should be a move that helps you at least a little bit now, but more so like is really looking towards 2023. Josiah Gray.
In the interest of time, I think we should answer the final mailbag question we have and then wrap for today. But this is a good one, and I'm really excited about this question because Aaron Parker wants to know, what does good Kyle Lewis look like? Is it his rookie numbers? Is it something different? I have a really simple answer to this, which is if you look at his career stat line, I think that's who he is. Like realistically, Kyle Lewis's 2022 projections via Zips are for 1.5 WAR, 113 WRC plus, a 240 batting average. I buy him a little bit better than that, but like, you know, he's going to hit between 240 and 260. I think this year it's reasonable to expect he'll be worth about a win, somewhere between 1 and 2 wins. He's a good player. Obviously, we lose a little bit of the value because he's not playing the field and because his base running right now is slow. But it's really nice to have him back. And I think we proved something important, which is that he passed a threshold. He is still very evidently not 100%, but the bat is playing, right? Like this is why, you know, you said it was like a shot of Xanax to the whole fan base. It was very cathartic for all of us to see that.
Idiom because even like,
I don't know, but it's you understand what it means.
Yeah, I sure do.
We didn't know, right? Like realistically, it was entirely possible he got back up here and the bat was affected by the knee and whatever else he's got going on, and he just wasn't going to cut it. It sure looks like he's comfortable at the plate, even if he can't push it. Durs and I were talking a little bit in the Discord too about, is he this slow because he's like, you know, in pain and physically incapable of it? I think having watched him, the Mariners have told him, you will not run full speed. And when you see him, for real though, when you see him jogging down the first baseline, and even yesterday on that hit, the dude is doing like 60%.
It's very
effort, kind of,
which is fine.
Yeah.
If there's anybody I'm okay with him doing that, it's him.
Has he had to like leg anything out, like run hard at all on like any doubles or anything? I don't think so.
Well, he should have, yes, is the answer to that, but he has not, is the answer. Like there is, even the other day, he hit a ground ball and like Julio and even a faster Kyle probably would have legged it out, but he was not. Yeah, he was not gunning to beat that ball out. He was ready to head back to the bench.
I mean, he's not scoring on Edgar Martinez's double.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as long as he's not losing out on too many doubles, I'm not too worried about it.
Well,
if he keeps hitting it over the wall, it's not a problem.
This is so true.
Yesterday during Taylor Trammell's double, that's when I really noticed. I was like, oh, he's holding back. Because I think most guys would have kicked it into a higher gear to potentially score on that ball. He didn't even give himself a chance. He was coasting into third base, which is fine.
And that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. If he's going to play, it has to be like this for now. And, you know, we had a lot of conversations earlier this year in the Slack, in the Discord, wherever, about Kyle Lewis's knee and kind of, is it degenerative? Is it systemic? Is it chronic? It's entirely possible that he doesn't ever meaningfully play the field again, right? Like it is possible he plays next year if for whatever reason he's feeling better. But this incarnation of Kyle Lewis is just a DH. I don't think there's any reason to expect that shifts during the season, because now that he's playing more, he's not going to feel like less pain in the knee, right? And just doesn't seem feasible. So I don't love that you said he's kind of on the trading block. I do kind of agree with you, though. I think that his fit with this team makes a lot more sense if he can play the field. And a good thing to watch for the rest of the year is, does he get any time in the field literally at all? Like if it hits September, does the team give him a game out in left field or right field? To be determined, but we'll see how he fits the team going forward based on all that, right?
Yeah, and to answer the actual question, um, I do kind of wonder like where that K percentage settles. The Bat X thinks that rest of the season, like he's a 23% strikeout hitter. That would be incredible. That surpasses my expectations for him. I mean, in 2021, it was only 150 plate appearances. He was like 25%, which I would be over the moon about, honestly. I my expectation for him is that he's in the high 20s, somewhere around like 30%, which is, gonna probably affect his batting average, but just like it's really interesting. I think a lot about I think in 20 it was during the time that Mitch Haniger was gone. I was kind of wondering like what kind of hitter do the Mariners have in Mitch Haniger, because his breakout season, he I think really overperformed his X numbers, and probably a lot of that has to do with optimizing like pull side power and because Mitch doesn't necessarily like tear the cover off the ball. He's just kind of like Ty France, where he just has really good feel for hitting. Uh, I have similar questions about what is Kyle Lewis, because he isn't even like, this is a weird decimal, but he's not even like 5-6 into the way of like a full season of plate appearances, and this is now moving into his fourth partial season. I think based on all of his numbers, his career numbers, it's very clear that the raw power has converted into game power, because people cite barrel percentage a lot, and that matters. Like his barrel percentage is more than 2 times above league average. But what matters more to me is barrels per plate appearances, because Joey Gallo is really good by barrel percentage, but Joey Gallo doesn't hit the ball. He doesn't get the bat on the ball every time he's up. He strikes out like 40% of the time. Kyle Lewis doesn't do that, but just in general, like it's more instructive to look at barrels per plate appearances. He's almost 2 times league average, and the league average is 4.6. So that's very good. If he keeps the strike percentage 30% or below, I am very, very confident that he is a plus hitter. And there's no reason really to think otherwise. He hits a lot of fly balls, and he, hits them hard. And just in terms of like bat path, I think, well, yeah, he really doesn't hit a ton of ground balls. So I don't know. I think he's legit, and I think he's proven that for a while now. So, we'll see what everything looks like, but yeah, he's been really aggressive, and he's been making a lot of contact.
It's exciting to have him back, isn't it?
Truly like a shot in the arm. I couldn't have expected him to hit this well, to have that big of a layoff and just come back and rake. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Can I make a couple of quick notes before you wrap things up here, Evan?
Of course.
Firstly, like I said, join our Discord. Evan, hopefully we'll have the link in the description on Spotify and Apple or wherever you're listening, so you can join.
I realize Mikey was correct. Those links expire, so I can throw them in there. But what I've done is I've been posting it on Twitter and reposting it, because that way it makes more sense there. Because if people are clicking links on Spotify or whatever, they might be expired within a couple days.
Well, don't they expire after like 10 days or something.
I think 10 days. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we could do that then.
Yeah, if
That's
you're
fine.
listening to this show within the week of it being posted, then you should be able to use the link to join. And then secondly, I will not be on the next show next week, so I'll be out of town. So hope you guys have a good show without me.
Thanks, man.
Wow.
It won't be the
What
same.
a traitor.
Oh, also, I noticed on the episode descriptions, Evan, that you put little polls.
Yes.
So make sure to go answer the polls, because I didn't even notice that was a thing until I was like on the episode description for some reason. It's like, oh, this is neat. So go. Well, okay. Aren't you smart?
Wait, do y'all want to hear something funny? Somehow, Kyle Lewis. So they have a sprint speed percentile on StatCast. He does not rank in the first percentile, which is pretty wild. Like pretty.
Is he faster than Yordan Alvarez?
I don't know. Do you want me to look?
He legitimately might be faster than healthy Ty France. It's closer than you might think to watch them both run.
Oh wow, these are some really slow boys. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I am gonna look this up.
Flat-footed.
Just
okay.
Just wait.
One thing I notice about Lewis, and please stop doing this, is whenever he hits a home run, he does a little hop skip at third base, and it's just like, are you tempting fate?
Needs to stop.
All right,
I told everyone else I was at the gym yesterday and they were replaying the game and I saw that and I audibly gasped like
he does it every
several
time.
People looked at me like, are you okay? Because I was on the bench press and like I was like, no, like I'm watching
Dude,
the game.
One time I was at the gym and I was benching in high school and I was like going up and then I just started going down. I was like, oh no. And I didn't have a spotter and I was like too embarrassed. I didn't want to be like, help. But then eventually I was like, all right, I can't do this. Ow. And a dude like turned and he was like, oh fuck. Anyways,
way to make it known that you guys go to the gym.
That was in high school, so 10 years ago. Anyways, yeah, I haven't been to the gym in 10 years. There are 8 runners who are slower than Lewis somehow. Tucker Barnhart, catcher. Jacob Stallings, catcher. Miguel Cabrera,
checks out.
Not catcher. Robinson Chirinos, catcher. Robert Pujols, not catcher. Yadier Molina,
with bad feet.
Catcher.
Bad feet too.
Yasmani Grandal, catcher. Martin Maldonado, catcher, perhaps the slowest human on Earth at 20.8 feet per second. That is so very slow. I honestly think I could have done that on my torn hamstring.
How is Yordan Alvarez not on there?
Oh, that's a good question.
He's got to be close.
Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Lewis both have like 0 knees between the two of them.
Yordan's like as fast as Corey Seager, which is not fast.
Well, that's not very fast.
It's like Jesse Winker fast.
It's also not fast.
Lewis Friends fast. Anyway, sorry, I'm just listing off sprint speeds now.
All right, we're gonna wrap it there for today. I'm Evan. You can find me on Twitter at Evan James Audio. You can find Mikey on Twitter at Kuya Mikey. You can find Anders on Twitter at Anders Jorstad. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, wherever it is you stream. Additionally, please support the podcast on Patreon by going to patreon.com/NeverSunnyInSeattle. I will link that in the description as well as the Discord link, it sounds like. So check that out. Thank you for listening. Go Mariners, and we'll be back next week.
Yeehaw!